Hello, everyone. It's Linda Ockwell-Jenner here with another Conversations with Linda show. Very excited to have a prominent local figure with us today. And I want to read a little bit of his bio. He's got such a fantastic bio. He's a really fantastically successful man. In 1994, Mark joined the family firm Bingeman's and received hands-on experience within the various business units. In 2014, Mark assumed the helm of Bingeman's and has continually maintained an active hands-on approach into the business. So Bingeman's is a hospitality firm which operates 5 separate units: camping resorts, amusement, leisure products such as Big Splash, Water Park, Fun Works, Indoor Playland, Kingpin, Bowland, amongst others, plus catering and convention facilities. Wow, Mark, how do you handle all of that? Just one man.
It's all great people. So trust me, it's very little of me and a whole bunch of everybody else.
So may I ask then, I'm guessing your family, your father, I'm not sure about your mom, actually were the founders of Bingeman's, is that correct?
Actually, it was my uncle, my aunt, and my father together. It was the Bingaman's property proper that on Bingaman Center Drive was my grandfather's hobby farm, and he was a veterinarian but also an entrepreneur himself in different avenues. And so my uncle and my aunt and my father, they all worked together, and we have what we have today.
It's absolutely amazing. I moved over in '93, a very long time ago, and yours, was one of the names, the family names that is very prominent along with others. And yes, I know we've bumped into each other before, but I still think to myself, you have a wonderful story, and I've never really, known that before. So that's interesting. So there is one topic I'd like to touch on, and then obviously you can jump in with anything. So the growth in our region and the significance and importance of tourism and hospitality, and particularly after COVID. So, do you think before COVID you weren't having any challenges in that area? Did COVID impact you in a big way, or has it gone nice and smoothly?
Well, that's a big question. Listen, there's always challenges in every business, and things are very cyclical. And many of our operations, like for example, our water park or the camping outdoor sections, are very weather dependent. So throughout the years, some summers you've got great summers and with great weather, and some are not so great. So there's that roller coaster there. But the one thing that really pre-COVID, the labor shortage and staffing was really becoming very significant for the hospitality industry, tourism and hospitality across the board. So, and it wasn't really talked about that much, but it was very much a very significant. It had always been a significant problem, and during COVID, everything stood still, unfortunately, for a number of years. And then once things got back into the swing of things, that labor shortage for our industry that was already there even became more exacerbated, and became is probably one of the top challenges that our industry has today.
So I wasn't aware because I don't work in that industry, obviously. Why was there a problem before COVID then? Um, is no, you tell me. I have no idea at all. I couldn't even guess.
Well, it depends how far back you want to go, but just we've been very blessed in Waterloo region. It has been growing rapidly for a number of decades, and certainly shows all signs that it's going to continue, which is a great thing to be involved with. But with that comes other challenges that come up that everybody has to deal with, and the labor issues is certainly one of them. Like I can remember when Research in Motion was at their peak, hiring everybody. Like we were losing a lot of our staff, entry level hospitality people, to those types of positions because they had such a insatiable appetite for staffing, that was a big challenge for a number of years. And then that changed a little bit, and other aspects had come up. So it's really been a bit of a roller coaster. But it has always been there, and part of it is a lot of the trade associations like ORMA, the Ontario Hotel Restaurant Association, with TIO, and a number of different organizations, I certainly couldn't name them all, are really doing a lot of work to really highlight tourism and hospitality as a career move, because a lot of people don't see that because of it can be cyclical in nature. We've just come through the Christmas season when we're at our peak. We're probably having 100 to 200 waiters a night on the weekends and those types of things. You've got all the chefs, all the assistants in the kitchen, running full bore. And then in January, February, March, it tends to drop down a little bit. So the consistency of work sometimes, it's not it can be challenging for people that want consistent work. So as our region grows and becomes busier, that obviously helps temper that so that we can keep higher levels of staffing on all time versus part time.
Um, so is it something to do with the environment in particular, like, where we live? In people leaving here to go to, say, I don't know, Calgary or Alberta or places like that to work in different, like facilities similar to yours? Is it the fact that most people are younger and they just want to see the world, do you think, or is it an all age thing?
Well, there's no question you've hit part of them. You've hit one of the many nails in the challenges we have. But we don't necessarily see that as a bad thing, because listen, when we have great staff members working with us and we don't have the room for them to grow further at the pace that they're maybe ready for, or they think they're ready for, and they want to move to that next level and they're increasing their challenge. We see that as a good thing in terms of, hey, we've got them to a certain point and now they've gone up, and a lot of times people do come back. And there is a flow to that, because for as many times as people are leaving to go to, let's say they want to work in Toronto, they want to work in the bigger cities like Calgary or Vancouver. At the same point in time, we've got many people coming back to the community that have done that and said, hey, things have changed. They're either their life circumstances have changed. They've gotten older, they've got families, and they want more stable. They don't want the travel anymore. So it's a bit of a seesaw with those types of items.
Yeah. So thinking back to when your uncle and aunt and your dad first, started Bingerman's, it's grown a lot since then. It's even grown since I've been here. Our children used to love to come to the water park, and we've never camped there. We've been to the Festival of Lights. We've been to stuff like that. But we haven't really camped there. But I know you get a lot of camping. So what changes can you remember that you made once you took it over? What did you think would make it more feasible and the growth really carried on because of the changes you made?
Yeah, no, I think our organization has always been very progressive, looking for the next thing, and many things don't stay the same. So, I'll give you an example. There are more, certainly when I came back in '94. Thanks for putting some age to me. For example, we had the bumper boats, we had inflatable attractions, we had jumping attractions, and all an outdoor playground type attractions. And people change, and more importantly, the consumer interest and demands, they do change over time. So I would say that one of the biggest projects that I was involved with was the creation of Funworks, when we really looked at our business operations, our amusement operations, and said, here's every year we take all the feedback we get from all of our consumers. We sit down with all the management and our line staff and say, hey, what went really well? What could we do better? And what things should we be changing? And a lot of those things came up, and we thought, okay, we really need to, one, quite honestly, insulate ourselves against inclement weather, because back then everything was outdoor orientated. So if it was a rainy day, you just didn't come at all. And then obviously for us, that's not an ideal situation. So we knew we had to move towards indoor attractions. And through that, the water park needed more concessions. We needed some more washrooms. We needed, a games room, a proper games room, and all these other things. And when we looked at it and said, if we make these changes, there's a million or more dollars, certainly, millions of dollars in these upgrades for a 90-day operation, which really, when you look at, the ROI on that, it makes it somewhat challenging to take that risk. So that's when we decided to create Funworks to have a destination that was year round, that was insulated from weather challenges, and for us, our cash flows from that business was heavy centric in the summertime, but then non-existent in the fall, winter, and then spring. So by doing this, by building that, we could have a year-round management team, a year-round supervisory team, as well as year-round employment for many staff. And then it balloons in the summertime with all the summer attractions. So that was really the first foray into really having discussions and really pushing to what is the Bingemans of tomorrow look like.
Um, when I moved over all those years ago, and I'm not sure when it went away, there was, I don't know whether you call it a competitor, Sports World. And so Sports World disappeared and you guys stayed. Is that because like they didn't grow with the times, or you don't even know why it happened, and you were very, forward thinking and knew about, what you wanted to? Because if I remember rightly, they didn't have any indoor stuff, did they? Was it just an outdoor splash park and everything?
Well, Sports World certainly had their indoor games room, and that was tied in with the restaurant at the time that was there, that morphed into Moose Winooski's, and those types of things. I really couldn't. Fortunately or unfortunately, we weren't in their boardroom understanding what their business model was and what their plans were. We had plans for our organization, and we just stuck to that. And really, and in sticking to that, you make adjustments based on situational awareness and consumer trends, but we really didn't vary from that. We had a very long-term goal, which we still do, and we just every so often we just tweak it based on what we see as the consumer wanting and what direction that we should be going.
And that's really good advice for the businesses, watching these kinds of video podcasts, because basically, even if they're not in the same business as you touched on a really important thing, a long-term goal and sticking to it. You may tweak it along the way, but you can't turn around and look at what a competitor's doing and saying, well, they're doing a bit better than me, so I'm going to do what they're doing, because that necessarily isn't going to work for your culture and, all the things that you've already been doing. It's a really good tip to pass on. Um, and for the future of Bingerman's, you are thinking about growth and adding some other things, but I think it's a big part of tourism, isn't it? You bring a lot of tourists into the area because, as I say, they want to camp there, they want to use your facilities. So, is there anything in the future you think that you would be adding that you're thinking about at the moment, or you already have added that will, encourage more people to come into our area?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've refined that the product bases in the categories that we're operating in now are our core operations, and we're constantly defining them. So for us, we will always be in the water park business. We will be expanding that as things come forward. We're certainly we've got a large renovation project coming up, a cosmetic change happening to our Boston Pizza Kingpin Bowl Lounge that'll be coming up this spring. So just to refresh that product and add some other uniquenesses to it. Our in on our convention side, and I appreciate your drive. There's really two markets that we're catering to. One is the Waterloo Region market, not only for the leisure, but also for the business market. So our business is split up into different teams, and many of them focus on the B2C, business to consumer side, and the others are really focusing on the business to the B2B. So, for example, our convention spaces, our event spaces. We've got a major complete renovation of our embassy room that's starting in February, and going to open up early summer. That was actually a project that was actually slated for spring of 2020, which obviously got put on hold because of COVID. And then it's taken this amount of time just to re-energize and get it back, and again getting the trades, finding those things, and getting that rolling. So a lot of major changes happening that way. And then, as you mentioned earlier, we're also foraying. We expanded our Kingpin product into Kingpin Cambridge, which great. That opened up. It was fall of 18. and that we've had great success with that, and very happy with that operation. And that was really the beta test for us, having it nice and close to see, okay, let's take everything that we have in this unique space that we have at Bingeman's, let's put it into a smaller square footage, and utilize that. So there'll be more of those products coming out. And then in addition to, we've announced, in the next, hopefully in the next, 30 to 60 days, we'll be opening up K1 Cambridge, which is we've taken the ice pad in partnership with Morguard at the Cambridge Center Mall, and we're actually we're actually under construction right now, creating that into a large multi-level electric go-karting track, and that'll have a large arcade, event space, meeting spaces for corporate groups. So really going after all that type of business, but in a different format that is not competitive to the businesses that we're already operating, but quite honestly, as a complement, as another activity for people to do.
It's wonderful. I love. I learn from what you guys do. I learn from what other businesses do, and I know a lot of people are like me. I think it's absolutely wonderful. Um, do you have any downtime? Do you take a holiday? Are you always working?
Well, it's unique. As I said earlier, I'm very blessed by having a great team of people that really help drive the engine and drive the bus, as it were. So we all feed off one another, and that helps me and all of us. Quite honestly, the downtime is actually very, very important, so you can see and partake in other things. Anybody that's traveled with me, sometimes my wife kind of regrets it because we say, "Oh, where are we going?" And then no matter where we travel to, there miraculously is a side trip to see another park or to see another activity. Uh, I know one year actually when we didn't make any plans for between Christmas and New Year's, and I said we've never been to Cleveland. Why don't we go to Cleveland and check it out? So not necessarily what people do in the middle of winter, but of course as we're walking downtown Cleveland, I said, well, why don't we pop into this place? And she says, oh my God, there's a bowling alley. I said, you knew this was here. You wanted to come here. I said, well, it's a very successful operation. And it just so happened the owners were more than welcome to welcome us and talk to us. And she goes, you got to be kidding.
You have a wonderful brand. Did you know you have a wonderful brand and everybody thinks you're very lovely?
Well, listen, it's something we don't take for granted. It's something that we're very conscious of that. Really, the culture that we try to instill in all of our team members and people is really make sure that we're in the hospitality business. We're in a whole bunch of amusement and water park and all these, but at the end of the day, it's all about hospitality. It's about welcoming people, and we've had this conversation in the last 6 months on uniquely. We have been creating generational memories for families because we probably hear it almost every day, someone saying, and even as you said, well, we took our kids to the water park and we took our families here, and we hear that from people saying, hey, my parents brought me here, when it was when we had the go-karts or when we had the bumper boats, and now they're coming back to Funworks, and we get the odd comment too of, why didn't you have Funworks when I was a kid?
The thing is, though, your leadership and your the way you treat people, the way you talk to people, your message, your culture, and I mean you in particular now. When I posted on social media I was going to be interviewing you, so many people were saying, what a wonderful guy, what a lovely man, Bingeman's is fantastic. And unfortunately, not everybody knows that they have to be transparent, authentic, and treat people the way they wish to be treated, which I know you do, Mark. You know that's very important. You've said the word hospitality. You can't be in hospitality if you're mean to people. So I'm very, very honoured to be able to interview you and find out more about, the past and how it got started, Bingeman's, and the future. We've taken our grandson to Funworks. He's only 3, and it was absolutely... He loved it. He thought it was amazing. I made Dave go in with him though because I didn't want to lose him. Because when it's your own child, go. But when it's a grandson, you don't want to lose them. So Dave had some great fun as well. Is there any words of wisdom you'd like to leave with, particularly business owners today who are still struggling and getting over from COVID? Is there anything you'd like to share with them that would help them realise that, like you, it can continue. You don't have to give up. It is going to get better, isn't it? You know, the economy.
Yeah, gosh, I don't know if I don't know if I'm worthy of passing anything like that along, but just something that came through, quite honestly, through COVID with our team was, um, we met, and when it started, we met our, the team that we had, we met twice a week over teams, and we, every idea, everybody was driving. What are we going to do? How are we going to drive? What's the next thing? What's coming up? How can we create things? And so many great ideas from the collective group came up that we seized on. For example, when we did the drive-in, that was one of our people's great ideas. Hey, we've got this outdoor amphitheater. Let's make a drive-through or a drive-in. Our food and beverage team said, hey, listen, we've got the Boston Pizza that's doing pickup and takeout, but why don't we do some feature ones and do them in a large scale? So we had the poutine drive-through. We had, the Cinco de Mayo drive-through. All these other things. That it kept everybody's creative juices going. And the only thing I can say is, at the end of the day, business fundamentals always take over. You have to have a good idea, and you have to have that. But then once you know you've got that, you really have to have the tenacity and to just stick with it, just to grind it out and grind it through. And when I say that, you have to be realistic, understand the things around you and be very realistic on the environment and the challenges you have, but just keep grinding it. So many times, people make emotional decisions, and it's hard for us sometimes too. We know we want to do this because that's what we feel we need to do, but all the data and our intelligence and other things might tell us something different. And sticking to that, not making emotional decisions, and making the right decisions, and having people around you that challenge you. Like, there's no question. I've got a lot of people that challenge me every day, and I'm thankful for that, because we all can get tunnel vision sometimes, and you need a voice of reason, or you need that one person to say, I'm going to take another view, whether they agree with it or not, but just to test, the ideas that we're thinking of. So, and I think for me, it was having that strong support. COVID was very tough, and I would say, everybody having people around that were positive and wanted to surround yourself with those positive people that are dedicated to the success. And sometimes the success may not be what you thought.
Yeah, that's wonderful, wonderful advice, and I think you are the person who should give that advice, because you have done a lot, to make Bingeman's what it is. Even though you, should we say, inherited it or had it passed on to you, you didn't just sit there and go, okay, this is it. That's what it's going to be like. You kept growing and growing and growing. You kept going through COVID, and also. You've got some foresight, I think, to know that, how you treat people is how they treat you. Not everybody's as nice as you, Mark. So I want to thank you for your time. You are a lovely human being. I'm so lucky to be able to, talk to you like this, and find out, some of the growth strategies, and, the fact that your family founded it. And have a lovely day, and thank you for having a conversation with me. It's been lovely.
No problem. It was absolutely my pleasure. And thank you for the invitation.